The blizzard hit Chicago without mercy. Tamika pressed her forehead against the frosted window of her small apartment, watching the snow swallow the city whole. The wind howled like a wounded animal, rattling the old glass panes. She pulled her cardigan tighter, though it did little against the cold seeping through the walls. "Mommy, I'm cold," Nala's small voice called from the couch where she was bundled under every blanket they owned. "I know, baby. I know." Tamika's heart clenched. The heat had been cut off 2 days ago, another bill she couldn't pay. She was about to turn away from the window when she saw him, a figure stumbling through the snow, barely visible in the white chaos. He collapsed against a streetlight just outside her building, his dark coat already covered in ice. Tamika's breath caught. Every instinct screamed danger. This was Chicago's South Side at midnight. Strange men meant trouble. But as she watched him slide down the pole, something in her chest twisted. He was dying out there. Her hand was on the door before she could think twice. The cold slammed into Tamika the moment she stepped outside, stealing her breath. The wind cut through her thin cardigan like knives, but she pushed forward, her boots crunching through knee-deep snow. Hey, can you hear me?" The man didn't respond. Up close, she could see he was Asian, Korean maybe, with perfectly styled black hair now matted with ice. His expensive-looking coat was torn at the shoulder, dark stains she desperately hoped weren't blood spreading across the fabric. His face was pale, lips turning blue. "Sir, you need to get inside." She grabbed his arm, surprised by the solid muscle beneath the coat. "Come on, please, you'll die out here." His eyes fluttered open, dark, intense, even in their unfocused state. For a moment, he stared at her like he was trying to understand a foreign language. Then his weight shifted, and she realized he was trying to stand. "That's it. I've got you." Tamika wrapped his arm around her shoulders, grunting under his weight. He was tall, much taller than her 5'5" frame, and solid. Every step back to her building felt like miles. The warmth of the hallway was a blessing. She half-dragged, half-carried him up the stairs to her second-floor apartment, her muscles screaming in protest. Nala's eyes went wide when Tamika pushed through the door with the stranger. "Nala, baby, go to your room, okay?" "But Mommy—" "Now, sweetheart, please." The little girl scrambled off the couch, her curly pigtails bouncing as she disappeared into the bedroom, though Tamika could see her peeking through the crack in the door. Tamika lowered the man onto the couch, her hands shaking as she peeled off his frozen coat. The shirt underneath was white, or had been. Now it was torn and stained. Her fingers found the source, a deep gash across his ribs. Oh, God! Her nursing assistant training kicked in. She rushed to the bathroom, grabbing her first aid kit and clean towels. When she returned, his eyes were open again, watching her with an intensity that made her pause. "You're hurt," she said, kneeling beside the couch. "I need to clean this wound. It's going to hurt." He didn't respond, just continued staring at her with those dark, unreadable eyes. His jaw was sharp, his features striking even in his current state. There was something commanding about him, something that made her apartment feel suddenly very small. Tamika pressed the towel against his wound, and he didn't even flinch. Most men would have at least hissed in pain, but this one just kept watching her, his gaze tracking every movement of her hands. "What happened to you?" she asked softly, cleaning around the gash. "Who did this?" "You should not have brought me here." His voice was deep, accented, and filled with something that sounded like regret. "You would have frozen to death. Perhaps that would have been safer. For you." Tamika's hands stilled. She looked up at him, really looked at him. The expensive clothes even torn. The calluses on his hands that spoke of violence, not office work. The way he held himself, even injured, like a king forced to sit on a pauper's throne. "Who are you?" Before he could answer, Nala's voice piped up from the bedroom doorway. "Mommy, is the man going to be okay?" The stranger's gaze shifted to the little girl, and something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or concern. His whole body tensed. "You have a child." It wasn't a question. His voice had changed, become somehow even more serious. "My daughter, Nala." Tamika stood, positioning herself between them. "Nala, I told you to stay in your room. I wanted to help." The 5-year-old clutched her favorite stuffed rabbit, her brown eyes wide and curious. "Is he sick?" "He's hurt, baby, but he's going to be fine." Tamika hoped that was true. The wound was deep, but clean. If she could keep it from getting infected, "I should leave." The stranger tried to sit up, and Tamika pushed him back down with surprising force. "In this storm? You wouldn't make it to the corner. Whatever trouble you're in, it'll still be there in the morning. Right now, you need rest." Their eyes locked. His were calculating, measuring her in a way that made her spine straighten. She refused to look away, refused to show the fear fluttering in her chest. Finally, he nodded. "What is your name?" "Tamika. Tamika Johnson. Tamika." He repeated it slowly, like he was memorizing it. "I am Kwon Junho." "Well, Mr. Kwon, you're going to stay on this couch tonight. I'll check your wound in a few hours." She grabbed a blanket from the closet, one of the few they had. "Do you need anything else? Water? Food? Why are you doing this?" His question stopped her mid-motion. "You do not know me. I could be dangerous." Tamika looked at him, then at Nala, who was still peeking from behind the bedroom door. She thought about all the times people had looked at her, a black single mother working 2 jobs, and seen only what they expected to see, assumed the worst, crossed the street to avoid her. "My mama always said we're judged by how we treat people when they can't do anything for us in return." She draped the blanket over him. "You couldn't even stand on your own out there. So I guess we'll find out in the morning whether my mama was right or foolish." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "She was brave, as are you. Or stupid. Jury's still out." Tamika moved toward the kitchen. "I'm making you some tea. Then you're resting, and I don't want to hear any arguments." As she filled the kettle, she could feel his eyes on her back. The apartment was too quiet, too small, too intimate with this dangerous stranger bleeding on her couch. But outside, the blizzard raged on, and somewhere in this city, someone was looking for him. She just didn't know yet that by morning, her small act of kindness would change everything. Nala crept closer to the couch, hugging her rabbit. "What's your name?" "Junho," he said quietly. "That's a pretty name. Are you from far away?" "Very far. Korea. That's where they make good food, right? Mommy showed me pictures." Nala smiled, gap-toothed and innocent. "You can stay as long as you need. Mommy helps people. She's the best." Kwon Junho looked at the little girl, then at Tamika moving in the kitchen, then at the humble apartment with its worn furniture and peeling paint. Something shifted in his expression, something almost like pain, but deeper. "Yes," he said softly, "she is." The kettle began to whistle, and the snow continued to fall. Morning came with weak sunlight filtering through the frosted windows. Tamika woke on the floor beside the couch, her neck aching from the awkward position. She dozed off while keeping watch, changing his bandages twice during the night. Kwon Junho was awake, sitting up despite her instructions, staring at his phone with an expression carved from stone. "You should be lying down," she said, pushing herself to her feet. "The storm has passed." He didn't look at her. "I need to leave." "Let me see that wound first." Tamika moved closer, and he tensed. "I'm a nursing assistant, Mr. Kwon. I've seen it all. Now let me check." Reluctantly, he lifted his shirt. Her breath caught, not at the wound, which looked better than expected, but at what else she saw. His torso was a canvas of scars, old and new, mapping out a history of violence. And there, on the left side of his neck, running vertically in small, elegant characters, was a tattoo in Korean script. "You're Yakuza," she whispered, then corrected herself. "No, Korean Mafia." His eyes snapped to hers, dark and dangerous. "You should not know these things. I work at Cook County Hospital. You think I haven't seen gang members Mafia?" Tamika's hands shook as she rebandaged his wound, but she didn't stop. "The question is, what's a Korean Mafia boss doing bleeding out on a Chicago street corner?" "Tamika," Nala's sleepy voice called from the bedroom. "Stay in your room, baby," Tamika called back, her eyes never leaving Junho's. "Who's after you? People who will not stop because of a blizzard." He grabbed her wrist, not hard but firm enough to make his point. His hand was warm, calloused. "Which is why I must go. Now, before they find me here and put you both in danger." "Mommy, I'm hungry." Nala appeared in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. She stopped when she saw them, her little face scrunching in confusion. "Why are you holding Mommy's hand?" Junho released Tamika immediately, but the warmth of his touch lingered on her skin. "He's not holding it, sweetie. He was just—" Tamika trailed off, unsure how to explain. "Go brush your teeth. I'll make breakfast in a minute." But Nala was already walking toward them, her rabbit dragging on the floor. "Are you feeling better, Mr. Junho?" "I am." His voice softened when he addressed the child. "Thank you for your concern. Mommy makes the best oatmeal when people are sick, with cinnamon and honey." Nala climbed onto the armchair across from him. "Can you stay for breakfast?" Tamika saw the conflict on his face, the need to leave warring with something else. Before he could answer, her phone rang. The hospital. Her shift started in an hour. "I have to take this." She stepped into the kitchen. "This is Tamika." Tamika, we need you to come in early if you can. 3-car pileup from the ice. It's chaos here. She glanced at the clock. The buses were probably still running behind schedule from the storm. If she left now, she might make it on time. But that meant leaving Nala alone with a Mafia boss. A Mafia boss who'd been nothing but careful around her daughter, who looked at the little girl like she was something precious and breakable. I'll be there in 45 minutes. She ended the call and walked back to the living room. I have to go to work. Junho stood immediately. Then I will leave. Sit down. Tamika's voice was firm. You can barely stand. You'll rip those stitches open before you make it to the street. I cannot stay here with your daughter. You can and you will. She moved to the bedroom to change, calling over her shoulder. Because despite everything, I trust you won't hurt her. Don't ask me why, because I don't have a good answer. But my gut says you're dangerous to your enemies, not to a 5-year-old girl. When she emerged in her scrubs, Junho was still standing in the same spot, looking at her like she'd grown a second head. You are either very wise or very foolish, Tamika Johnson. Everyone keeps saying that. She pulled on her coat. There's oatmeal in the pantry, eggs in the fridge. Nala knows where everything is. She can't have too much sugar. She'll bounce off the walls. Her inhaler is in the bathroom if she needs it. But she shouldn't. And if anyone comes to this door, anyone you don't recognize, you take her out the fire escape and run, understand? His expression shifted to something almost like respect. You are giving a criminal instructions on how to care for your child. I'm giving a man I saved from freezing to death instructions on basic childcare. There's a difference. Tamika knelt down to Nala. Baby, Mommy has to work. Mr. Junho is going to stay here and rest, okay? You be good. I'm always good. Nala hugged her tight. Will you bring me a sticker? If they have any at the hospital, you bet. Tamika kissed her forehead, then stood to face Junho. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. I get off at 6. Don't make me regret this. I will protect her with my life. The way he said it, like a vow, like a promise carved in stone, made her believe him. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. The door closed behind her, and Kwon Junho was left alone with a 5-year-old girl who had no idea she was being guarded by one of the most dangerous men in 2 countries. Nala hopped off the chair. Want to watch cartoons? I do not watch cartoons. Then today's your lucky day. You get to see the best ones. She grabbed the remote and patted the couch beside her. Come on, Mommy says you need to rest anyway. Against his better judgment, against every instinct that screamed this was wrong, Kwon Junho sat down. The little girl curled up on the other end of the couch, her rabbit in her lap, and turned on the television. Within minutes, she was explaining the intricate plot of some animated show about magical creatures, her hands moving expressively as she talked. Junho found himself listening, not to the television but to her voice. So innocent, so untouched by the violence that colored his world. Are you really from Korea? Nala asked during a commercial. I am. Is it pretty there? Parts of it. The mountains are beautiful. And the ocean. He paused, surprised to find himself sharing. When I was your age, my grandmother would take me to see the cherry blossoms. Cherry blossoms are the pink trees, right? Nala's eyes lit up. I saw pictures. They're so pretty. Do you miss it? Did he miss it? Junho considered the question. He missed the person he'd been before the violence, before the blood, before his family's legacy had wrapped around him like chains. Sometimes. Mommy says it's okay to miss places, even if we can't go back. She misses her old house before we had to move here. Nala hugged her rabbit tighter. But she says home is where people love you, not a place. Your mother is a very wise woman. She's the best mummy in the whole world. Nala stated it as absolute fact. She works really hard so I can have things. She reads me stories every night, even when she's tired, and she makes the best mac and cheese ever. Junho's phone buzzed. He checked it. Messages from his second-in-command, Park Min-seo. The situation was worse than he'd thought. His enemies knew he was wounded, were searching the city. They had people at every hospital, every clinic. If they found out he was here with Tamika and Nala, he had to leave now before— Can you make the oatmeal? Nala asked. Mommy said you could use our kitchen. I should not— Please, I'm really hungry, and Mommy showed you where everything is. Those wide brown eyes looked at him with complete trust, and Kwon Junho realized he was in more danger from this 5-year-old girl than from any of his enemies. Very well. Show me where your mother keeps the oatmeal. As Nala led him to the kitchen, chattering about the proper cinnamon-to-honey ratio, his phone buzzed again. Another message from Min-seo. Boss, they know you're alive. They're expanding the search. Where are you? Junho looked at Nala, climbing onto a chair to reach the pantry, completely unafraid of him. Then he looked around the small apartment, humble, worn, but filled with something his penthouse had never had. He typed back, "Somewhere safe. Keep them searching the north side. I'll contact you when I can move. Boss, we can extract you." "No, I handle this alone, that's an order." He pocketed the phone and turned his attention to making oatmeal for a little girl who believed strangers could be good, that pink trees were magical, and that home was wherever people loved you. For the first time in 20 years, Kwon Junho wondered what that might feel like. Tamika's shift was brutal. The pileup had brought in more patients than they could handle, and she'd spent 12 hours running between beds, changing bandages, holding hands of scared people while doctors worked miracles. But through it all, her mind kept drifting back to her apartment, to the dangerous man she'd left with her daughter, to the look in his eyes when he'd promised to protect Nala. She should call the police. She should have called them the moment she saw the tattoo, the scars, the expensive watch he'd tried to hide. But something held her back, something beyond logic or common sense. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "They are both safe. Making dinner." Tamika almost dropped her phone. He was making dinner? The Korean Mafia boss was cooking in her kitchen? When she finally got home at 7, an hour late, the smell hit her first. Something savory and delicious, so different from her usual quick meals. She pushed open the door to find Nala at the small dining table, using chopsticks, to eat what looked like fried rice. "Mommy, look what Mr. Junho made." Nala waved a chopstick excitedly. "It's the best thing I've ever tasted, and he taught me how to use these sticks. It's tricky, but I'm getting good." Kwon Junho stood at her stove, looking completely out of place in his expensive torn shirt, cooking in her beaten-up pans. He turned when she entered, and something flickered across his face. "You are late. 3-car pileup. How's the wound?" "Professional. Keep it professional. Healing. You did good work." He plated another serving of fried rice, added what looked like perfectly cooked vegetables and some kind of meat. "You should eat. You look exhausted." "Mr. Junho made kimchi fried rice," Nala announced, "and he made it not spicy for me, but he says when I'm bigger, I can try the real kind." Tamika accepted the plate, trying to ignore how domestic this all felt. A man cooking in her kitchen, her daughter happily eating, the apartment warm and filled with the scent of a home-cooked meal. It was an illusion, a dangerous one. "Nala, baby, finish up and get ready for your bath." "But Mommy, now please." The little girl recognized that tone and quickly scooped up the last of her rice. "Thank you for dinner, Mr. Junho. Will you be here tomorrow?" Junho's eyes met Tamika's over Nala's head. "I do not know. I hope so. You're really nice." Nala hugged his leg quickly. He went completely rigid, and then skipped off to the bathroom. The moment her daughter was out of earshot, Tamika set down her plate. "You need to tell me what's going on, all of it." "You do not want to know. I left my 5-year-old daughter with a man I pulled out of a snowstorm, a man with gang tattoos and a history of violence written across his skin. I think I deserve the truth." Junho was quiet for a long moment. Then he moved to the window, looking out at the dark street. "There is a war happening between my organization and a rival family. They ambushed me 2 nights ago, tried to end it by ending me. I survived, but barely. I have been running since then. Why not go to your people? Surely you have—" "I do, but my enemies have eyes everywhere. Hospitals, clinics, known safe houses. If I go to my organization now, I lead them right to my people. More will die." His reflection in the window was grim. "I was supposed to freeze in that storm. It would have been cleaner that way." "Nothing about freezing to death is clean. It is compared to what they will do if they catch me." He turned to face her. "Which is why I must leave tonight. I have put you in enough danger. Where will you go? You can barely walk without grimacing. I saw you favor that side all day through the security camera on my phone." His eyebrows rose. "You were watching? I had to make sure you weren't robbing me blind or traumatizing my kid." Tamika crossed her arms. "Answer the question. Where will you go?" "I will figure something out." "That's not an answer." She stepped closer. "Look, I don't pretend to understand your world, but I know what it's like to have nowhere to go, no one to turn to. I've been there. So if you leave here tonight, wounded and hunted, you're as good as dead. Perhaps. But you and Nala will be safe. We're already involved, Mr. Kwon. The moment I dragged you out of that snow, we became part of this. So you can run off and die somewhere, or you can stay here, heal, and figure out your next move from a position of strength." They stared at each other across her small kitchen, the air thick with tension. Junho's jaw worked, his hands clenched at his sides. You do not understand what you are offering. Then explain it to me. If they find me here, they will kill you both. Not quickly, not mercifully. They will make an example of you to send a message to anyone who might help me in the future. His voice was flat, emotionless, but his eyes burned. They will hurt your daughter in front of you. And there is nothing I could do to stop it. Tamika's blood ran cold, but she didn't back down. Then we make sure they don't find you here. You cannot... I grew up on these streets, Mr. Kwon. I know every corner, every hiding spot, every person who sees everything. If your enemies come looking, we'll know before they get within 2 blocks. She moved closer still, close enough to see the flecks of brown in his dark eyes. Besides, something tells me you're worth a lot more alive than dead. Your organization needs you, doesn't it? They do. Then we keep you alive, you heal, you plan, and when you're ready, you go back and end this war. Tamika surprised herself with her own conviction. But you don't die in my apartment, and you don't die on my street. We clear? A slow, genuine smile crossed Junho's face, the first real smile she'd seen from him. It transformed him, made him look younger, less haunted. You are extraordinary, Tamika Johnson. I'm practical. There's a difference. She picked up her plate of now-cold fried rice. Now, are you going to tell me how you made this taste so good with my basic ingredients? Or is that a Korean Mafia secret? The secret is in the technique and proper seasoning. He moved back to the stove. Let me heat that up for you. Food should be enjoyed warm. As he reheated her dinner, Tamika watched him move in her kitchen with surprising grace. His wound was healing fast, unnaturally fast, which meant he was tougher than even she'd given him credit for. Why did you really stay? She asked quietly. When I left for work, you could have walked out, but you stayed and watched my daughter. Why? Junho was silent for a long moment, his back to her as he worked. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Because she trusted me. And I realized it had been many years since anyone had looked at me and seen something other than a monster. He turned, placing the reheated plate in front of her. Your daughter sees a man who makes good oatmeal and knows about cherry blossoms. It has been a long time since I was just a man. The vulnerability in his admission made Tamika's chest tight. She'd seen this before. People so defined by their worst moments, their hardest choices, that they forgot they were more than their circumstances. You were just a man, Junho. A man in a bad situation, making the best choices he can. She took a bite of the rice. It was incredible. And for what it's worth, I see it too. The man underneath all the scary Mafia boss stuff. Their eyes met and held. The kitchen suddenly felt very small, very warm. The air between them charged with something neither wanted to name. Mommy, I'm ready for my story. The spell broke. Tamika cleared her throat, standing. I should go put her to bed. I will clean up. You don't have to. Please, let me. There was something almost pleading in his voice. Let me do this small thing. Tamika nodded and headed to Nala's room, her heart pounding in a way that had nothing to do with fear. Later, after Nala was asleep and the kitchen was spotless, Tamika found Junho on the couch, his phone in his hand, and a troubled expression on his face. Bad news? My second-in-command, Min Seo. He says the rival family is getting desperate. They are offering money for information about my location. He set down the phone. It is only a matter of time before someone talks. How much time? Days, maybe less. Tamika sat down on the armchair, pulling her knees to her chest. Then we use those days wisely. You heal, you plan, you prepare. And when they come, you'll be ready. She met his eyes. We'll be ready. Junho studied her for a long moment, and she could see him warring with himself. Finally, he leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. I need to make a call to my people, but it cannot be from here. They might trace it. There's a bodega 3 blocks down. Mr. Martinez has payphones in the back. He owes me a favor from when I helped his mother at the hospital. You truly have thought of everything. I told you. I grew up here. I know how to survive. Tamika stood. But you're not going alone. You're still too weak, and if something happens to you out there, I need to know. You would come with me? Into the night, knowing my enemies are hunting? Someone needs to make sure you don't rip your stitches. She grabbed her coat. Let me check on Nala one more time. Then we go. 10 minutes later, they were moving through the dark Chicago streets, the city quiet in the aftermath of the storm. Tamika walked close to Junho, ready to support him if needed, though he moved better than she'd expected. You are good at this, he observed. Staying in shadows, knowing safe routes. Had to be. Single mother, working nights sometimes. You learn to be invisible when you need to be. She guided him down an alley. My ex, Nala's father. He was... Let's just say I got good at avoiding unwanted attention. Junho's expression darkened. He hurt you. It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. Not physically, but words can cut just as deep. He said I'd never amount to anything, that Nala and I would end up on the streets without him. Tamika's voice hardened. I proved him wrong every single day. I have no doubt of that. They reached the bodega, and Mr. Martinez, a kind-faced man in his 60s, greeted Tamika warmly, his eyes curious about her companion but polite enough not to ask. He led them to the back room, where the payphone sat against a graffitied wall. Take your time, Mija. When they were alone, Junho dialed a number from memory. The conversation was in Korean, fast and tense. Tamika couldn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. He was giving orders, getting updates, his whole demeanor shifting into something harder, more commanding. This was the real Kwon Junho, not the man who made oatmeal for a 5-year-old, but the boss who commanded an empire of shadows. When he hung up, some of that hardness remained. It is worse than I thought. The rival family has allied with another organization. They are consolidating power, planning to wipe out my people entirely. What will you do? I will end it, but not yet. I need to heal fully, need to plan the right move. His eyes found hers. And I need to ensure you and Nala are protected when I do. We can handle ourselves. I know you can, but I will not take chances with her safety. Or yours. He stepped closer, and Tamika's breath caught. You have given me sanctuary when I had none. You trusted me with your most precious treasure. I do not take such gifts lightly. It wasn't a gift, it was just the right thing to do. In my world, there is rarely a right thing. Only survival. His hand came up, almost touching her face, then dropped. You remind me that another world exists. One where people help strangers in storms, where children trust without fear, where kindness is not weakness. Junho. She didn't know what she was about to say, but the moment shattered when voices echoed from the front of the store. Angry voices, threatening. They both froze. Korean, she whispered. He nodded once, his whole body tensing. They are here. Back door, Tamika whispered, grabbing Junho's arm and pulling him toward the rear exit she knew was there. Mr. Martinez kept it for emergencies. This definitely qualified. They burst into the alley, the cold hitting them like a wall. Behind them, she heard shouting, Mr. Martinez's voice rising in protest. They will hurt him, Junho said, starting to turn back. He'll tell them we went out the front. He's smarter than he looks. Tamika pulled him forward. We need to move. Now. They ran through alleys Tamika knew by heart, the snow crunching beneath their feet. Behind them, more voices. The hunters had picked up their trail. This way. She yanked him left, toward the old railroad underpass. It was dark, isolated, but it had 3 different exits. They could lose their pursuers there. Halfway through, Junho stumbled. His hand went to his side, and Tamika saw dark wetness spreading across his shirt. You ripped your stitches. Keep moving. His voice was tight with pain. Not until... Tamika. He grabbed her shoulders, his eyes intense. They will not stop. If they catch us, they will use you to get to me. I cannot. I will not let that happen. The sound of footsteps echoed through the underpass. They were coming from both ends now, cutting off their escape routes. How many? She whispered. Junho listened, his head tilted. 4, maybe 5. Can you fight? His laugh was dark. I have fought in worse condition, but not with you here. A plan formed in Tamika's mind. Risky, probably stupid, but their only chance. There's a maintenance ladder 10 feet ahead. It leads to the street level. You climb up, I'll lead them away. Absolutely not. It's the only way. They're looking for you, not me. I'll run. They'll follow. You get to safety. No. Junho, listen to me. No. His voice was absolute. I will not use you as bait. I will not put you in danger. I would rather die than see you hurt because of me. The footsteps grew closer. Tamika could hear them talking in Korean, coordinating their search. Then we fight together. She picked up a piece of broken pipe from the ground. Because I'm not leaving you either. Something blazed in Junho's eyes. Surprise, admiration, something deeper he quickly buried. You are the most stubborn woman I have ever met. I've been told. Now what's the plan? Before he could answer, figures emerged from the darkness on both sides. 5 men, all Korean, all carrying weapons that glinted in the dim light. One of them spoke in Korean, and Junho responded, his voice cold and commanding. Tamika didn't understand the words, but she understood the stance. He'd positioned himself in front of her, shielding her with his body. The leader, A thin man with a scar across his cheek smiled and said something that made Junho's whole body go rigid. "What did he say?" Tamika whispered. "He said, they will let me watch while they hurt you. Then, they will kill us both." Junho's voice was ice. "I told him they are welcome to try." The men moved forward, and Junho struck. Even wounded, even outnumbered, he moved like violence personified. The first man went down with a crushed windpipe. The second took an elbow to the temple and dropped, but there were too many and Junho was bleeding, slowing. One of them got past him, lunging for Tamika. She swung the pipe with all her strength, connecting with his knee. He screamed and went down, but another was already there, grabbing her arm. "Let her go!" Junho's roar echoed through the underpass. He moved with desperate speed, breaking the man's grip on Tamika and throwing him into the wall with bone-crushing force. But the distraction cost him. The leader's knife flashed, catching Junho across the shoulder. He staggered and Tamika screamed. Then lights flooded the underpass. Car headlights, blinding and sudden. Engines roared, and men poured out. Different men, wearing black suits, moving with military precision. "Boss!" One of them, young, Korean with sharp eyes, ran to Junho. "We tracked your location from the call. Are you hurt?" "Minseo." Junho's voice was weak. "I told you not to come. And I respectfully ignored that order, sir." Minseo's men were already subduing the attackers, moving with efficient brutality. His eyes found Tamika. "Who is she?" "Under my protection." Junho straightened, despite the blood now flowing freely from his shoulder and side. "Anyone who touches her answers to me personally. Spread the word to every family, every organization. She is untouchable." "Understood, boss." Minseo barked orders in Korean, and his men moved quickly. "We need to get you medical attention." "No hospitals. We have a doctor at the safe house." "Not yet." Junho turned to Tamika, and his expression softened. "I need to make sure she gets home safely." "Junho, you're bleeding badly. I need to see you home." His tone left no room for argument. "Minseo, 2 men to escort us. The rest, take these trash to the warehouse. I will deal with them later." The drive back to Tamika's apartment was tense and silent. Junho sat beside her in the back of the sleek black car, his hand pressed against his side, his jaw clenched against pain. "You're an idiot," Tamika said quietly. "You should be going to your doctor." "After." "After what?" "After I know you are safe inside your home. After I see Nala sleeping peacefully. After I know that my presence has not brought destruction to the one place that felt like—" He trailed off, shaking his head. "Like what?" He didn't answer. They pulled up outside her building, and Tamika's heart stopped. Her apartment window, the one to Nala's bedroom, was dark. It should have had the nightlight she always left on. "Something's wrong." She was out of the car before it fully stopped, running for the entrance. Junho was right behind her, moving despite his injuries. The apartment door was ajar. Tamika's world narrowed to a single point of terror. She shoved through the door, and the scene inside made her blood run cold. Her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, was sitting on the couch with Nala in her lap. The old woman looked up with tear-filled eyes. "Tamika, thank God. I heard noises. Men in the hallway asking questions. I took Nala through my apartment to keep her safe." Relief crashed through Tamika so hard her knees nearly gave out. She rushed forward, gathering Nala into her arms. The little girl was crying, scared and confused. "Mommy, I was so scared." "Mrs. Chen said we had to hide and there were bad men and—" "Shh, baby, I've got you. You're safe now." Tamika looked at Mrs. Chen over her daughter's head. Thank you so much." "Of course, dear." Mrs. Chen stood, her eyes going to Junho, who filled the doorway with Minseo behind him. "I assume these are friends?" "Yes, they're friends." Mrs. Chen nodded slowly, her knowing eyes taking in the blood, the tension, the obvious danger. "Then I will leave you to your friends. But Tamika, dear, if you need anything, I know where to find you, thank you." When the old woman left, Tamika turned to find Junho staring at Nala with an expression of such naked relief it took her breath away. The hard, dangerous boss was gone. In his place was a man who'd clearly imagined the worst and been granted a miracle. Mr. Junho. Nala wiggled out of Tamika's arms and ran to him, throwing herself at his legs. "You're back, Mrs. Chen said bad men were looking for someone, but I knew you'd come back. I knew you'd keep us safe." Junho went completely still. Then slowly, carefully, he knelt down despite his injuries and looked Nala in the eyes. "I am sorry you were frightened. That will not happen again." "You're bleeding." Nala's eyes went wide. "Mommy, he's hurt." "I know, baby. I'm going to fix him up, okay? But I need you to be brave, and go to your room for a little while. But, Nala, please, for Mommy. The little girl looked between them, then nodded and scampered to her room, closing the door behind her. The moment she was gone, Junho swayed. Minseo caught him, easing him onto the couch. Boss, enough. Let me call the doctor here. Do it. Tamika was already getting her medical supplies, and someone needs to watch the building. If they found this place once. Already handled, Minseo assured her, his phone to his ear. We have men on every corner, cameras on every approach. No one gets within 2 blocks without us knowing. As Tamika worked on Junho's wounds, worse than before, the stitches completely torn, she felt his eyes on her. I am sorry, he said quietly. For what? For bringing this to your door. For putting Nala in danger. For— Stop! She pressed a fresh bandage against his shoulder harder than necessary. He didn't even flinch. You're not the first dangerous situation I've dealt with. Won't be the last. What matters is Nala's safe. You're alive and your people are here now. You should hate me. Probably. She met his eyes. But I don't. Which might make me the idiot in this situation. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. We are both idiots then. The doctor arrived 20 minutes later. A severe-looking woman who worked quickly and efficiently, restitching Junho's wounds while lecturing him in rapid Korean. He took it with surprising patience, his eyes never leaving Tamika as she sat across the room. When the doctor finished and left with Minseo to give them privacy, the apartment fell silent. I must go, Junho said finally. It is not safe for me to stay here now that they know the general area. I know, but I will leave men to guard you. The best I have. They will keep you and Nala safe while I end this. How long will that take? Days. Maybe a week. He stood carefully, testing his newly stitched wounds. I need to consolidate my forces, plan the final move. But when I do act, it will be decisive. There will be no more threats to you after this. Tamika stood as well, suddenly aware that this might be goodbye. That once he walked out that door, she might never see him again. Junho. He turned, and the look in his eyes stopped her breath. It was raw, vulnerable, completely unlike the controlled boss she'd seen with his men. When this is over, he said slowly, I would like to return, not as a fugitive seeking shelter, but as a man hoping to continue what has begun between us. And what has begun between us. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his warmth, smell the antiseptic from his fresh bandages, mixed with something uniquely him. Something I never thought to have. Something I do not deserve but find myself wanting desperately. His hand came up, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. You have shown me that I am more than what I have become, that there is still a man beneath the monster. I do not wish to lose that feeling. Tamika's heart was pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it. I don't see a monster, Junho, I never did. Then you are blind, or I'm more fortunate than I deserve. His thumb brushed across her cheek. Keep Nala safe. Keep yourself safe. And when I return, I will bring you something better than fear and blood at your door. What will you bring? Hope, for a future where a woman like you might accept a man like me. Before she could respond, before she could process the emotion in his voice, he leaned down and pressed his lips to her forehead, a gesture so tender it brought tears to her eyes. Then he was gone, the door closing softly behind him, leaving her alone in an apartment that suddenly felt far too empty. 6 days passed in agonizing slowness. True to his word, Junho's men guarded the building, discreet but ever-present. Minseo himself came by twice daily to check on them, bringing groceries and gifts for Nala that were far too expensive. The little girl asked about Junho constantly. When was he coming back? Was he okay? Did he remember his promise to teach her more about Korea? Tamika had no answers. The news showed nothing about gang wars or mafia conflicts, but she could feel the tension in the air, see it in the serious expressions of the guards, hear it in the worried phone calls Minseo took in rapid Korean. Something big was happening. On the 7th day, Tamika was at work when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Tamika. Junho's voice, rough and tired. It is over. Her knees went weak with relief. She ducked into an empty hallway. You're okay. You're not hurt. I am intact. The rival families have been neutralized. There will be no more threats to you or Nala. When are you coming back? Silence stretched between them, and Tamika's heart sank. Junho, I am flying to Korea tonight. There are things I must handle there, arrangements to make. The war here is finished, but there are consequences, alliances to rebuild. He paused. I do not know when I will return. Oh, it was all she could manage. But I will return, Tamika. I swear this to you. When my affairs are settled, when I can offer you more than a life of looking over your shoulder, I will come back." His voice dropped, intimate. "Because you have become more essential to me than breath. You and Nala both." Tears burned Tamika's eyes. "We'll be here, whenever you're ready. 2 months. Give me 2 months to set everything right, to build something worthy of you. Can you wait that long? I've waited my whole life for someone to look at me the way you do." 2 months is nothing. She heard his breath catch. "You are extraordinary, Tamika Johnson. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Come back to us, Kwon Junho. Nothing could keep me away." The line went dead, and Tamika stood in the hospital hallway, crying and smiling at the same time. That night she told Nala that Junho had to go away for work, but promised to come back. The little girl was sad but accepting, making Tamika promise to text him that she was practicing her chopstick skills. The weeks crawled by. Tamika threw herself into work, into being the best mother she could be, into building the life she'd always wanted. The guards gradually disappeared, but Minseo still checked in weekly, always with a message. "Boss says to tell you he's counting the days." She was too. On day 58, Tamika came home from her shift to find Minseo waiting outside her building, a genuine smile on his usually serious face. "He's coming back tomorrow." Tamika's heart leaped. "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow. And Miss Tamika, he has something important to ask you. I suggest you prepare yourself." That night she barely slept. The next day she left work early, picked up Nala from school, and came home to find her apartment transformed. There were flowers everywhere. Roses, orchids, and cherry blossoms. Real cherry blossoms somehow procured in Chicago winter. Candles lined the windowsills, and in the center of it, all stood Kwon Junho. He looked different, healthier, stronger, the shadows gone from his eyes. He wore an impeccable suit, his hair perfectly styled, every inch the powerful boss. But when Nala screamed his name and ran to him, he dropped to his knees with a laugh, catching her in a bear hug. "Mr. Junho, you came back, you really came back. I promised, did I not?" He held her tight. "And I brought you something." He pulled out a wrapped box, and Nala tore into it with 5-year-old enthusiasm. Inside was a beautiful doll in traditional Korean hanbok, along with a children's book about cherry blossoms. "It's so pretty. Thank you, thank you." Nala hugged him again, then noticed Tamika standing in the doorway. "Mommy, look. Mr. Junho remembered." "I see, baby." Tamika's voice was thick with emotion. Junho stood, his eyes locking with hers across the room. The air between them crackled with all the things unsaid, all the feelings built over 2 months of separation. "Nala, sweetheart, why don't you take your new doll to your room and play for a bit?" Tamika suggested gently. "But I want to show Mr. Junho my chopstick skills. Later, I promise. Right now, Mommy needs to talk to him." Nala pouted but obeyed, skipping to her room with her treasures. The moment her door closed, Junho moved. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides and pulled Tamika into his arms, holding her like she was precious, like she was everything. "I missed you," he breathed into her hair. "Every day, every moment. I missed you too." She buried her face in his chest, breathing him in. "Tell me you're really here, that you're really staying." "I am here, and I have come to offer you something." He pulled back just enough to look at her. "In Korea, I have built something new. Legitimate businesses, partnerships that will take my organization into the light. No more wars, no more blood at the door. A clean future. Junho, that's amazing. But it means nothing without you." He took her hands, his grip firm and warm. "Tamika, I know I am not what you deserve. I know my past is dark and my world is dangerous. But you have shown me what it means to be truly alive, truly human. You and Nala have given me something I never thought to have, a reason to be better than what I was." Tamika's heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe. "I am asking you to take a chance on me, to let me prove that I can be the man you see when you look at me, to build a life together, you, me, and Nala." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "I am asking you to marry me." He opened the box to reveal a ring, simple, elegant, with a diamond that caught the candlelight and threw rainbows across the walls. Tamika stared at it, tears streaming down her face. "You're serious?" "I have never been more serious about anything in my life." His voice was steady, certain. "I love you, Tamika Johnson. I love your strength, your courage, your incredible heart. I love how you saved a stranger in a storm without hesitation. I love how you trusted me with your daughter. I love how you see the best in people, even when they cannot see it themselves." "I love you too," she whispered. "God help me. I fell in love with you somewhere between the fried rice and the fight in the underpass." His smile was brilliant, transforming his entire face. "Is that a yes?" "That's a yes." She laughed through her tears. "Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I'll take a chance on us. Yes, to everything." Junho slipped the ring onto her finger, then cupped her face and kissed her. It was gentle at first, tender, but quickly deepened into something passionate, desperate, full of 2 months of longing and a future's worth of promise. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Nala's voice called from her room. "Are you two done talking yet? Can I show my chopstick skills now?" They both laughed, foreheads pressed together. "She is going to be so excited," Tamika said. "She already knows. I asked her permission first." Junho grinned. "She said yes, but only if I promised to make kimchi fried rice every week." Smart girl. She takes after her mother. They called Nala out, and the little girl's shriek of joy when they told her the news could probably be heard 3 blocks away. She threw herself at both of them, and they caught her together, the 3 of them wrapped in a hug that felt like coming home. "Does this mean Mr. Junho is going to be my daddy?" Nala asked, her eyes huge. Junho looked at Tamika, who nodded through her tears. He turned to Nala, his expression serious. "If you would like that, Nala, I would be honored to be your father. I promise to protect you, to teach you, to love you as my own, always." "Yes, yes, I want that." Nala hugged him tight. "I always wanted a daddy, and you're the best one ever." Later, after Nala had finally gone to bed, too excited to sleep but eventually worn out by happiness, Tamika and Junho sat together on the couch, where he'd first recovered from his wounds. "I have purchased a house," he said, his arm around her shoulders, "in a good neighborhood with excellent schools, large enough for all of us, with a yard for Nala to play. But we do not have to move if you do not wish. This apartment, it is special to me. This is where you saved my life." "You saved mine too," Tamika said softly. "Maybe not from a blizzard, but from a future of just surviving instead of living. You showed me I deserve more than scraps, that my daughter deserves a father who will cherish her. She will have everything. You both will. I have spent my life taking what I wanted through force and fear. But you, Tamika, you have given me something freely that I could never have taken. You have given me love. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of it. You already are." She kissed him softly. "From the moment you stayed to watch my daughter when you could have run, from the moment you put yourself between me and danger, from the moment you looked at a 5-year-old girl and saw someone worth protecting, not a weakness to exploit. She is not the only one worth protecting." His arms tightened around her. "You are my heart now, Tamika. You and Nala both. And I protect what is mine. Is that your way of saying I love you? I love you." He said it clearly, firmly, with no hesitation. "And I will say it every day for the rest of our lives, if you will let me." "I'll let you," she whispered against his lips. "I'll let you love us, and we'll love you back. We'll build something beautiful from all this chaos. We already have." They sat together in the quiet apartment, the candles burning low, the cherry blossoms filling the air with delicate scent. Outside, Chicago slept under a blanket of new snow. But inside, in this small space, where a desperate woman had saved a dying man, something far warmer than any fire burned bright: love, hope, family, the life neither of them had dared to dream of, now theirs to build together. 6 months later, the backyard of their new house was filled with laughter and the smell of grilled meat. Junho stood at the barbecue, cooking with the same precision he brought to everything, while Tamika set the table with Nala's help. Minseo and several other members of Junho's organization were there. These gatherings had become regular, a way to maintain loyalty while building the legitimate businesses that now formed the core of their operations. But today was special. "Uncle Minseo, watch me," Nala called, demonstrating her cartwheel across the grass. The serious man actually smiled, applauding her effort. "Very good, Nalaya. Soon you will be ready for taekwondo lessons." "Mr. Junho, Daddy, already signed me up." She ran to Junho, who scooped her up with one arm while flipping meat with the other. "Right, Daddy. That is right, little flower. You start next week." He kissed her forehead. "But you must promise to use your skills only for defense, not to terrorize your classmates." "I promise." She wiggled down and ran off to play. Tamika joined Junho at the grill, wrapping her arms around him from behind. He covered her hands with one of his, the wedding band on his finger catching the sunlight. "Happy?" she asked. "More than I ever thought possible." He turned in her arms, and the look in his eyes still made her breath catch after 6 months of marriage. You have given me everything, Tamika. A home, a family, a reason to be better than I was. We gave each other that. She smiled up at him, though I still can't believe this is my life. A year ago, I was barely making rent, working double shifts, wondering how I'd give Nala a better future. And now? Now I'm married to a man who looks at me like I hung the moon. My daughter has a father who would move mountains for her. We have a home, security, a future. She shook her head in wonder. All because I couldn't let a stranger freeze to death in a blizzard. All because you have a heart bigger than the sky. Junho cupped her face. And because you saw a man when everyone else saw a monster. I saw you, Junho. That's all. Just you. He kissed her soft and sweet until Nala's voice called out, "Gross." Adults kissing again. They laughed against each other's lips. I should finish this meet before your daughter stages a revolt, Junho said. Our daughter, Tamika corrected, and the joy that flashed across his face never got old. As the afternoon wore on, as friends and family gathered around their table, as Nala's laughter rang through the yard, Tamika thought back to that freezing night, to the choice she'd made to step into the storm and drag a dying stranger to safety. It had seemed like such a small thing at the time, a moment of compassion in a harsh world, but that moment had changed everything. She'd saved his life, yes, but he'd saved hers too, from a future of loneliness, from settling for less than she deserved, from never knowing what it felt like to be loved completely and without reservation. Junho caught her eye across the table and smiled, that private smile he reserved just for her, the one that said she was his whole world. She smiled back, her heart full. Sometimes, she thought, the most dangerous storms bring the greatest gifts. And sometimes, the stranger you save from freezing turns out to be exactly what you needed all along,